So, today I want to talk about transitioning in a very special way. And I have invited one of my amazing clients to talk about this. And the topic is spirituality and how spirituality can help in the transitioning period and in this journey in general. And therefore, I would love to introduce you to Priya and start the conversation. Priya, please introduce yourself and then we get going.
Yes, my name is Priya, and I have been a humanitarian worker until very recently when I decided to transition. And spirituality was a big part in my transition, in helping me transition. And of course, how I even arrived at this was through the coaching sessions. I have to say that that's what really, when I started digging deeper and deeper, it really I reached a point where I started to see what I really wanted, and how spirituality can actually can accompany this journey. So
Mm.
I would rather say transitioning through spirituality. That's what
Mm.
I would say, because I think it's a what I have come to see it is, it's something that should accompany
Mm.
any individual's journey, and particularly during difficult transitions, it can be very, very useful to have it as an anchor, because
Mhm.
often we look for individuals as an
Mhm.
anchor, maybe something material, money as an anchor, and those things are
Mm.
not necessarily as reliable.
Yeah, I love that. So we were discussing this with Priya about how we understand spirituality and how this has been in our own journey. And Priya, maybe the first, before we go into the discussion, how you have understood or defined spirituality for yourself. And maybe for anyone who's listening, I would share my journey of the way that I have understood for myself is a lot of unseen powers empowering me in my journey instead of me relying, like you were saying, anchoring, right? Me relying on the external circumstances to give me confirmation that this works or not, or external, like other people's opinions, whether they are right or wrong. Instead of doing that, how can I rely on the even like powers, intelligence, consciousness, whichever the way that many people can describe. For me, I've described as this omnipotent level of intelligence in the world that can like give me so much power to say I am above any problems, any fears, anything emotional, physical, essentially, that can help me go through this journey and carry me go through this journey. This is how I have understood spirituality for me. What would you say, Priya, for you?
Yes, that is exactly how I have understood it as well. It's a vehicle that, you know, that can carry us through any. That's why I said transitioning through,
Mm-hmm.
because it can carry us through any of the tough times. And I know that, I think this year has been a year of transition
Yeah.
for many individuals, many organizations, many
Yeah.
people, many situations in the world generally. So I think it's probably a good time to reconnect and talk about that,
Yeah.
um, because the opposite of this, as I see it, was always, at least in my experience, leading me to be not authentic,
Mm.
because too much of calculation and strategization,
Yeah.
I think, eventually that's what drained me,
Mm.
because I was not being authentic at all, because it was always about, oh, if I say it like this, it will come across like this, and it will be received like this. And, and at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we are all human beings. We all have our perceptions, our subjective
Yeah.
ways of receiving things, so why not go about it the authentic way?
Yeah.
And I think that power came from, me focusing on the spiritual journey. And only
Mm-hmm.
then I could have this power to say that, okay, I will, not rely so much on the external to decide uh, what goes on within me and
Yes.
how I feel and how I, carry myself.
Yes, exactly. I love that. So, one of the things that we were also discussing about how logical brains want to say things like, if you leave now, for instance, right? The usual question is, do I live in the sector or leave, or do I stay or leave? And the usual way that we have argued with ourselves, probably using a logical brain, which is very calculating and very like you said, strategizing. Yes, if you do this, then this will happen. If you don't do this, will happen, kind of thing. And then in all of that discussion, what is often missing is what is the higher purpose that we're pursuing in life, or what is it that we are, maybe another way of like spiritually putting it, what is our deep spirit wanting us to do in life, right? And that conversation is often missing because we're so focused on the logical way of explaining things. And I heard someone recently say that logical brain is a fear brain, and I think I tend to agree with that, in the sense of how it is so like using fear essentially to make us calculate things, rather than using the inherent powers that we have, that we can go for anything that we want in life because we are free human beings, right? So therefore, you saying about, authentic way of living life can work, or works beautifully when we go through in the spiritual way. I love that. Priya, how do you, I guess, like recognize for yourself that these are the journey that you want to go through? Because I think a lot of us is also easy to ignore or keep suppressing that this is what we would like to do, or feeling like we don't have time for this because there are more urgent things to take care of, kind of like the dilemmas, right? So how did you go about saying, okay, this is a priority for me?
Um, I think you know, through the coaching journey, when I, I was asking a lot of questions and digging deeper within myself, peeling off the layers, I did realize that this is something I really want to do.
Mm,
And I no longer want to live, I no longer want my logical brain to dictate what I do, because it's, as you said, it keeps me stuck in the survival mode,
mm-hmm.
the fear
Yeah,
mode, which is
yeah,
the survival mode.
yeah.
So also, I mean, the common fear that I think most people face when they are in the survival mode is about making a living, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what keeps a lot of us stuck in many ways. I actually, looked at my situation, and I recognize this may not be the same for everybody, but of
Yeah.
course I looked at my situation and I saw uh, what was, weighing me down. Like, why did I think that I needed to um, focus so much on earning a living rather
Mm-hmm.
than creativity or being myself, and you know doing what my soul
Mm-hmm.
would like me to do. And I realized that actually there wasn't any. It was just uh, some sort of unnecessary, I would say, financial insecurity that I had, because I mean, there is no end to,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, because I just went back into my journey and I thought about when I was 24, 25 years old. What did I want then? I got it. And it was not that much that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I got that at 28, what did I want? I It wasn't again too much, but it was the next step up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got it. And then this was the journey throughout. And then I said, okay, when is this going to end? The
Yeah.
reality is, what I really felt deep down is that it's never going to end. And I'm just going to find one reason or another to. And do I really need that many resources to live? I don't think so.
Mm, mm,
So that's when I thought that, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do, and what I, feel deep down is my calling, and I'm going to not let. And these are also partially these fears and this survival, mm, centric thinking or behavior, and constant, pressure on earning a living only, and only thinking about life from that prism, is also something that we are all conditioned to do from our, like, we have been conditioned to think like this by all our societies generally.
mhm, mhm,
So that's when I thought that no, I'm not going to let that take over. And especially when I and many people like me have several years of work behind, a lot of savings, all of that to fall back on, what could happen? So that's when I thought that no, I really need to get out of this mindset, because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it, and it's going to get harder as time passes. So for
yes.
me, that was really the turning point.
Mhm,
And I was also tired of being, unauthentic, because I don't
mhm,
think I want to go through life and look back and say that all I did in my life was plan and, and strategize,
yeah.
and not really live, you know. So
Yes.
that was something that I really, uh, that's where I put my foot down with myself,
Yeah.
telling myself that no, this is not how I will continue.
Amazing. I love this. And this conditioning reminds me of this other aspect of spirituality that I feel helped me a lot is not continuing in the conditioning of if I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this, right? And never ending to arriving somewhere, like feeling like you always need to go somewhere, and always, like, once I realized, okay, I don't want to keep proving myself to the world and keep saying, oh, if I show up this way then they will like me, or if I show up this way they will approve, right? Once that journey has gone and I'm like, I'm no longer proving, then I realized the other pattern, which is conditioning the whole time. If I do this, then I have this, I have this. And then to realize, okay, if I didn't have that conditioning of myself and said, okay, I am me having the life I want now, and I don't need any other deserving or conditioning to get there, then how do I live my life? And I feel like spirituality was a great reminder of how that is also possible, meaning not keep doing things to get something, but rather being and having all what you want now, all the resources you want now, and you never need to get somewhere else, right? And in that sense, I think spirituality was the great way to, like, no, tap into the wisdom of and say, okay, I can do that. I just gotten so good at, like, living life the way society taught me and not living life the way I wanted to teach myself, right? So yeah, amazing. Any like practices that Priya, you practice currently that helps you stay in that journey and not, go back to, I don't know, for lack of a better word, societal ways of, expectations and doing things that way?
Yoga and meditation.
Mm,
I think those are the two things that are really helping. And, believe it or not, I was somebody who just could never sit down to meditate. I
mm,
always knew. See, I had a bit of, you know, backing from the family. There are members of my family who meditate and who always encouraged me that, this is going to stay with you. It's going to make your life
mhm,
smoother. As things around you get tougher, it's going to give you strength. You should try to do. And I never understood the value of it. I just didn't appreciate it. And whenever I
mm,
tried, it just didn't work for me.
yeah,
But I guess everything has its time in everyone's
yeah,
life. and it comes at a different stage and different time in everyone's life, and probably this was the right time for me. And when I did it, I will not miss it for anything.
Mm.
That is my first priority, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is
Mm-hmm.
how it has become. So that, I think those two practices have extremely helped me, and I can see how fast it's working when I actually
Mm-hmm.
surrender to it and when I give into it rather than questioning it. I just
Yeah.
do it as an offering. That's it,
Mm-hmm.
to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the universe,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not expecting anything in return. And
Mm-hmm.
going back to that, the point that you said, that I'm authentically, when I was looking back at my journey from my 20s till now, or from my, when I graduated from school until now, I was this person originally who actually wanted to do
Mm.
something. And I think many people are like, if you ask me why I wanted to do humanitarian work, I not once, and and really, hand on my heart, not once at those initial stages did I think, what will it fetch me? Not once. I
Yeah.
was ready to pay to do that work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was in
Yeah.
that, and not like I had a lot of my, I was a poor
Yeah.
student. I didn't really have I mean, by poor student, I mean, it's not like I had ton of resources available to me
Mm-hmm.
or anything. I did have to make a living, but I was so happy with just having the basic transport money, the basic lunch money, a little bit here and there. And okay, yeah, with that one holiday, somehow I save and I scrape through, and I really was content with that. And now when I look back, I really thought about my journey, and I thought, what happened?
Mm.
What changed from that to now, that I'm
Yeah.
constantly thinking about, oh, what will I get? What is the next thing for me? And I just realized that I I changed in the process.
Mm.
And going back to these practices, it's helping me connect with that
Yeah.
person I was. And I think that's what is so important, because this thing of what will I get is never ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I also noticed in my journey is that the more I kept the pattern of if I do this, I get this kind of thing, the more I kept searching for more confirmation or more ways of how now I'm successful or now I'm successful, right? Or whatever the version of that we get, which is then giving me certain hormones essentially, right? And then that hormones disappear and then I'm back to now I need to find another way to feel successful or to get something and this kind of thing. And then I realized through spirituality, at least the way that I'm practicing, also with meditation, by the way, and with breathing work and with conscious living, I guess is my way of defining it, is where I'm then realizing all of the hormones that I was getting through success or through getting something. I had those hormones already, and I just didn't know how to activate them in a way that gets me back to that level of pure joy and fulfillment that Priya you were describing in the beginning of our journey, right? I also had that feeling of, oh my God, I'm willing to like do for free because I didn't have money, but I'm willing to do for free because I don't care. This is what gives me all the joy in the world that I can do and be part of something big, right?
Mm.
And I think that level of emotions and hormones essentially are the emotions that I already had within me, but because of the survival and this getting to something and getting to something was so much covering and suppressing all of the underneath of what was available, right? And therefore I wasn't accessing it. And now I feel like, okay, I'm able to feel all of those doing what I love, and that once you recognize that's possible, then the question is, why then keep this pattern of getting something? Why keep then pattern of proving something, right? Why keep then the confirmation and the validation, all of these patterns, if you can already feel those within yourself? So therefore, I love what you said. Looking back, okay, these are the things we did. And there's somewhere there we changed, and then now we're getting back to the root of who we are, and then recognizing and living from that place. Amazing. Priya, do you have any suggestions to people if they are like, okay, I want to prioritize in my life as well spirituality in the way that they want to practice, where they could start?
Um, I think a good place to start is guided meditation
Mm.
and some breath work. I think that's a good place to start. Maybe start with guided meditation, then move to breath work. And one thing I would say is that I had this feeling when I, started and I said, oh, I can't meditate, because I was constantly trying to suppress my thoughts. And I think that happens to a lot
Mm.
of people because
Yeah,
our
yeah,
brain
yeah.
is working,
Mm-hmm.
nonstop. So
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to suppress it, and I realized that suppressing it, just it was like a spring. Yeah, it would
Yeah,
just keep coming back, and then I
yeah,
thought like I failed, and
yeah.
I think it's okay for those thoughts to be there. I think what I have learned, at least in my journey now, and um, my practices so far, is that I'm learning to observe it
Mm-hmm.
and to identify where they are coming from.
Yeah.
And they do come up again in my life generally, not necessarily just while sitting to meditate. And when that happens, it prevents me from immediately reacting or making knee jerk reactions because of those thoughts, unpleasant or pleasant, whatever kind of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, yeah, that would be a place to start, like to start meditating and not trying to suppress, and not to think that it's failed
Yeah.
with that, because that's what I used to think, that okay, it's not for me and I can't do this.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And also, like, if you think you're failing, also, what if it's okay to be failing as well, instead of making it a problem, right? And I think a lot of the times we have this tendency to label things and to make things
yes.
wrong, and then you're like, therefore you're not able to, and then you keep battling with yourself, and that I think is not necessary. So therefore, how can you let all be there? And I love this technique of observation. I suggest this to everyone. Like, even if you are someone who says, okay, I'm not the meditation type of person, fine. How can you get yourself really observing your energy, or if you don't understand the word energy, your emotions, right? And your thought processes. And even that will start getting you so much insight as to how you are the reactive person or proactive person, and how you're basically managing your life. And I think that's a great place as well. So I love it. Anything else, Priya, before we wrap up?
I think the key would be just to sit. If you have allocated yourself 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever per day,
Mm-hmm.
as maybe start with a lower number if you think you're not there. That's what I have done. Started
Mm-hmm.
with the lowest possible, and just show up, make sure you show up, and just sit, just for that time,
Mm-hmm.
without doing anything else, without moving
Yeah.
physically, fidgeting. Just sit with your eyes closed. And I think the rest just will happen in its own time, which is different for everybody, and the experiences are different for everybody. But
Yeah.
I think that's the key, and that's what, because I made sure that I will, at the beginning when I was, not so into it, I just told myself that this is what I would do. And in less than a month, I reached a stage where I actually wanted to do it.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're giving the time frames for people to also can relate to, right? It may not happen in one go or several goes, and that's fine. The other thing that I really feel like spirituality has such a power to help us recognize that we don't need to be subjected to fear and worry and all of this all of the time, which is what happens during transitioning period a lot of the time. And instead recognizing that we have the powers to go above those survival type of problems. And once we start looking at them from we are able to manage them. We have the power and ability to manage them, and instead of just being the victim of them, I think that's a great place already to start in your transitioning journey. And if you want to use spirituality from that perspective, I think it would be beyond powerful for your own sake. So that's why I would like to recommend to people to experience this for yours, like for themselves, right? Obviously, because it's something that is what you experience, and then sometimes it's maybe difficult to put into words. But once you start experiencing yourself, then you realize, oh, there are more to life than just keep in the survival mode, which unfortunately our brains are so good at getting us into, and then not seeing the horizon essentially. So I feel like try this out for yourself, whichever the place you can start. Priya said an amazing thing. Sit with yourself if the beginning stage you only can do that. Meditate if that's another possibility. Observe yourself as you go through, that's another possibility. And the message, the advocacy that I really always want to give to people is, what if we are capable to always go for what we want, no matter what the circumstances tell us is possible, no matter other people tell us what we should do, right? What if we are able to listen to our own souls, or in the way I formulated, our freedom within to go for what we want. Priya, thank you so much for doing this and
Thank
having
you.
this wonderful conversation.
Yes.
You are open to people talking to you, messaging you. How's it?
Sure, sure, sure.
Amazing. So I will tag her in the message, and then you can reach out to Priya, talk about this and her journey. If you would like support with transitioning, let me know. And have a beautiful time. And thank you, Priya, for your journey and doing this together. And I'm curious what will come next out of this journey.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and see you